today, the day of the recording, whatever, we're looking at the X Plus 25 centimeter Mogera. This figure is a representation of Mogera from the 1957 film, The Mysterians. If you have not seen The Mysterians, you should definitely check it out. It's one of Toho's earlier classics. Like I said, it came out in 1957, so only a few years after Godzilla came out, and bam! It was a pretty cool movie, pretty sci-fi-like, aliens, weird bike helmets, and other kind of stuff going on. So, pretty cool movie. Just check it out. That, you know, if you haven't seen this version of Mogera, then you're wondering, why does he look like this? A lot of people may recognize Mogera or pronounce Mogera from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. So, this is the original incarnation of Mogera, okay? And the original spelling was M-O-G-E-R-A. In Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, they spelled it different. They threw in a U in there. And it had actually, it was an acronym for Mobile Operations, Godzilla, something else, you know. Anyway, so let's talk about the figure. So, like I said, this is in the 25 centimeter scale. There is no 30 centimeter version of this figure. It was released in 2012. If you look at the box, it's got the licensing sticker for 2012. That's when it was released. I don't remember exactly what month, but this whole figure is all new to me. Like I said, I just got it today, so it was box day earlier. But, so, 2012, I picked this up off of Yahoo Japan. Bam! That's what's up. Let's talk about the box. Box, your typical 25 centimeter box. Nothing spectacular about it. It's got your licensing sticker, like we said, and it's got the sticker label that represents Mogera in Japanese. For those of you that don't know, it says Mogera 1957. I don't know what that says. I don't know what that, maybe it says Toho Kaiju series. I don't know. That says Toho Kaiju series. Okay? It's a little something about the box. This is just the basic information. And mind you, this is not the Rick Boy. The Rick Boy comes with a little Mysterian man. I have one I'll show you in a minute. But, that's the box. Typical box. I'm happy with this. The box is in pretty good condition. Thank you to whoever had this before me out in Japan. Okay. That was the box! Bam! Sculpt! Before we get into the sculpt, I want to mention one thing. This figure has a tail. Guess what you don't have to do? You do not have to heat up the tail and put it on. It comes already assembled in the box. So you take it out of the box, good to go. Toss them on your shelf, hold them, cuddle them, whatever you want to do with them. Mogera's good to go. You can put them on the ground and tell them to burrow a hole. If you didn't notice, Mogera is a mole. A mole in a hole. Mogera. Okay. So, that's a little detail about this. You don't have to worry about getting a tail on. It's good to go. Alright, so, the sculpt. Now, this is in the 25 centimeter scale. So, let's get our nifty little Stanley lever lock 16-foot tape measure out and find out how tall he is. How tall is he? 10 inches? Yep. It's about, actually, almost about 10 1/4 with the antennas. So, he's 10 inches tall. Typical, standard, average, 25 centimeter box. 25 centimeter height for a figure, okay? So that's the height. The sculpt down, very nicely done. This figure, boy, it really captures, it's X Plus, I always say this. I feel like I repeat myself with every figure, but spot on with the sculpt. You have your drill nose, antennas, which we'll talk about in a minute. Lots of detail on the head. Okay, neck, nice metallic frills. Remember, this is a robot, people. I don't even know what to call this. We're just going to call this his singular dorsal plate. Very nice. This is probably one of the most attractive parts about the whole figure, is this dorsal plate here. It's got jagged teeth on each individual spike, so that looks cool. The detail in the front. Another, it's really, really attractive how these look like the treads on a tank, mind you. So the detail is very nicely done. Each tread perfect, individually measured evenly. So that looks good. His hands and his arms. No, you can't really move these up. That's how they're positioned, but you know, those are just like little clamper things. So those look good. Exactly how the suit looked. Okay. One of the weaker parts about the suit, which is represented here in the figure, is the legs. The legs are just so bland. It looks like they just took some plastic tubes and made tubes and maybe a cardboard box or something for the legs. The legs are the least detailed of the figure and of the suit. So when you see the movie, this looked very toy-like, but that's how it looked on the suit. So it's a good representation. It's just kind of bland looking. But tail, you'd probably take this off if you had to, but don't. Tail, bam, bam. It's in 4 sections, nicely detailed. You know, it looks like a rubber suit, you know, and that's the beautiful part about this figure. And from the time that it came from is that, you know, Toho was experimenting with new kaiju, new movies, and, you know, they were doing work on new ideas on how to make suits better, how to make it more comfortable for the suit actor inside. So this looks like a suit, and that's one thing about X Pluses they've always been good about, is representing the suit, not the kaiju, if you understand what I'm saying. So it looks like the suit, and that's what they want to capture. So that looks good. So the sculpt is very nice. Let's talk about the face again real quick. You know, I never understood what this thing here was underneath his beak. I got to watch the movie again to freshen up. Fresh! But that's nicely represented. His eyes are pretty cool. You know, real buggy looking. Pretty awesome. You know, and he has just one singular face expression. So, piece of cake, right? Alright, the antennas. X Plus did a good job. Unlike the Bandai version of this figure, which I'll use to compare later. But the antennas, they're flimsy. So, you know, you want to be careful with them, but they're not going to snap like the Bandai version, which is a shame because this is a standout point for the figure. So, good job X Plus for making flimsy antennas so they don't break. Good job. Talked about the arms. Got some frills there. Coils, you know, for arm, probably, you know, hydraulic, whatever. But that's a sculpt, okay? Sculpt is good. Very well done. A+ for the sculpt. Detail! Detail, detail, detail! Now, as always, you know, I kind of already touched base on this when I was talking about the sculpt, but the detail is top-notch. Very nicely done. Scales, grooves on the head, the frills, arms. The eyes are nicely done. The treads, like we talked about. So I pretty much covered the detail. But it's great. I should really short and sweet because I pretty much yacked about that already. But it looks good. A lot of intricate details, especially on the head with all these little grooves. You know, you think doing a Godzilla costume, yet figure in X Plus based off the costume or the suit, whichever you prefer. I always call it suit. I don't know why I said costume. But, you know, that's, you know, probably easy to replicate, the scales, because they're so vibrant and just all over the place. But with robots, everything has to be precise. You know, I bet if you go watch the movie, if I go watch the movie, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. 5 by 7 rows of squares here, rectangle in the back of his head. I bet it's exactly the same way on the costume suit in the movie The Mysterians. So that's how attention to detail X Plus is. So very good job. Very, very good job. I'm very impressed with this. I will say, as I'm talking about the detail, this is one figure that I didn't think I was going to pick up for the X Plus line, but I did. So I'm very impressed with it. Good to go. So that's detail. Paint job! Alright, paint job. It's a robot. You got your gold head, goldish looking hands, gold shoes, bam, metallic, treadmill looking, you know, the treads. We're just going to call those the treads. Metallic silver treads on the front. And the rest of the body is almost more of a metallic blue. If you look at the back, as the light hits that, you got blues, silvers, metallic looking, all metallic sprayed. Looks pretty good. And I like that it's blended and faded in together because it gives the figure some depth. If if you're familiar with my reviews, paint job, the paint application, if you give an in-depth paint application, it gives the figure depth. It's not just a flat, color. Highlights are important on these because it helps give the figure some depth. If you understand what I'm saying, okay? So the paint job's pretty good. Really good. No flaws with this. Even as this was used, I bought this used there. I don't have any qualms about the paint job. There is just one little nick back there on this dorsal plate, but it's not a big deal. This is in very good condition, being that the figure is about 2 years old, depending on what month it came out. So paint job's good. Okay. Joints and seams. Okay, so there's seams here around the arms. Limited articulation, not meant to move. This is X+. There's definitely a big seam here where the head was put on. It just looks like a seam. Big seam around the waist. It's hidden well in the front with the treads. In the back, though, and the sides, it's there. You can't miss it. But that's how it looked on the suit. Okay. These are not seams, not seams, not seams. Down here, this is obviously it's covered up, but that's how it looked in the movie. But there's a seam underneath there. Not a big deal. It's not distracting at all. From the front, you can't tell because this is how it looked in the movie. Okay. The legs, there's some articulation there. We'll talk about articulation. I'm just going to roll this into joints and seams because that's pretty much how this rolls. Hidden as well at the legs and the thighs from the treads coming down. So, but the legs rotate there, so there's seams there. Now, the tail, hidden. There's a seam here because the tail does give. Now, the one good thing about any robotic figure, whether it be X+, Bandai's, SH Monster Arts, whatever have you, the good thing about robot mechas is that the joints and seams are easily hidden because robots, they move like that. And they were made like that in the movies, so in the suit. So easily hidden on the suit, easily hidden on the figure. Okay, so that's your joints and seams. Articulation, not articulation. I'm gonna start when I do my future X+ reviews. There's gonna be no articulation. It's just these were not meant to articulate. The legs have some play only to keep him balanced. If you moved him, I mean he's pretty balanced either way you have. Move those legs, so that's pretty good. So that's your joints and seams. Articulation, that's the SH Monster Art stuff, right? Right. Size comparison. Bam! I had them right here. Now, check out the size. We're just going to do full comparison along with the size. Now, this is technically in the Bandai 8-inch scale, and check out those antennas. You got to be very careful with them because you mess with them, they will break. They are so fragile, so fragile. Don't even touch them. Be careful. But as you can see, 8-inch scale. This is 25 centimeter scale or 10 inches. Give you with the antennas. That's the size difference. Look from the front, and you look from the side. Okay. Pretty, that's how big. Okay? And this is another rare figure to get. So I picked this up. When did I pick this up? No, I don't know. I think before the winter last year. Glad to have both of these. Okay? Now, just for comparison purposes, if you look at the back on this guy, he's like baby blue almost. Not many highlights. And if you think back to what I was saying about the depth of the paint job, I got a little nick there, that stinks. But, flat baby blue compared to the highlights and the metallics there. This looks so much better than the paint job here. But I will tell you, now, this Bandai figure, this came out in '94. This came out in 2012. This looks damn good from 1994. This is what, 94. This is 20 years old. That's a 20-year-old figure. This is 2 years old. Okay? This looks great from 1994. Nobody could touch that back in '94. Okay? So, fast forward 18 years, when this came out, this was its only competition 18 years later. Okay, so respect your Bandai figures. Okay, bam. So that's your size comparison. Alright, final thoughts. So, I'm happy I picked this up. Just got them off Yahoo Japan, like I said in the beginning. Figure's nice. It has a very retro look to him because, remember, this came from 1957. This was the design in the Mysterians from 1957. So, this the look of the figure, it fits the time period that it came out. I really have no complaints about this figure at all. It's very fitting. It looks great. It's a good size. I'm happy that they did good with the antennas up here, because if those were fragile, that's one thing I was curious about the antennas. I was afraid these were going to be stiff, but they're just flimsy vinyl. We'll call that flimsy vinyl, and that's good. So you don't have to worry about. Look, I mean, I don't even. Who's going to do that anyways? But you do that, and they're okay. You don't do that with your Bandai. So good size, bam, good to go. This figure is certified fresh. Bam! Does it smell fresh? Nah. He's like 2012, semi-fresh. So when I put him with his brethren up there, you know, he'll freshen up a little bit. Out of a scale of 9 to 10, it's a 10 out of 10. You know, it's easy. Sometimes it might be easy just to say 10 out of 10 with X Plus, but remember, not every X Plus figure is a freaking home run. Okay, but this figure, great representation of the figure, of the suit, blah 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 blah. Okay, so that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out Fresh Vinyl Reviews on Facebook. Check out KaijuAddicts.com and leave comments, ask questions. I'm always happy to help and answer people's questions out there. You know, it doesn't have to be about this. It could be about anything. So hit me up. All right, guys? And remember, buy vinyl, fresh vinyl.